Prof. Lauren, how are you today?
Hi, Dr. S. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. Guess what? I worked out how not to read upside down.
Well,
Feeling better. You know what's going to feel better?
what?
After we talk about how we support our thesis, reasons, and claims, we're going to feel a lot better about really being good about adding support into our papers.
Does that have something to do with reading in an informative essay, Dr. S?
Completely, Prof. Lauren. I mean, you've got to read and figure out how you're going to support your own claims or reasons. And the only way to do that is to get out the old text and very deliberately go through it, thinking about what it is that you're trying to support. What are the questions?
Talk about a strategy. I think it's got something to do with this idea of structure that we've been talking about, doesn't it? This idea of a thesis and reasons. How does that work, Dr. S?
Okay, so as you know, we have the Thesis Builder in our web text, and we built our thesis where we topic with a claim or 3 reasons on what we were going to discuss. And as you can see over here in the yellow, here's one for budgeting for success, because you and I are working on this because we both confided in one another that we really have to get it together as an age to get a better budget plan.
Absolutely. I think they're so important. And what a great thesis, Dr. S. It's so specific. You've got 3 different reasons. And where did those reasons come from?
Well, a lot of them they come from actually reading what people are discussing on the topic, and you go, wow, that's interesting. Some of it else can come from your own personal experience, but when you're moving on to research like this, you start reading articles by other people in the community that are thinking about it, and you see, oh, they bring up this really good point, and I can use it in my paper. I can put it in my own words, but then I can back it up with what they have to say. You were given this chart, which I love because it shows exactly how to write this paper. You've got your introduction with your thesis, right? And then each claim and the evidence for each claim, which is these readings that they have in the web text.
That chart is really, really helpful because it shows me the backbone of my essay, but I'd really like to see what it looks like all fleshed out. Do you think we could take a look at that using our thesis statement? Yeah, and look, I kind of see that in my general chart over here. It looks like claim 1, evidence. There's 2 paragraphs underneath those little highlighted block lines, right?
That's absolutely right, because that's how we write this particular.
I see. Is that, the first claim in our thesis statement seems to be that budgeting for success is important because people want to manage their spending. Is that what I'm focusing my first 2 body paragraphs on?
Absolutely. And so it's really wise to read for that particular claim so that you can find some material on it, and you can actually use a yellow highlighter, because then you know, aha, these thoughts that I'm going to use, this support I'm going to use in these 2 paragraphs over here are going to come from this article, and I know that they're for that particular claim because they're in yellow.
I love that idea, Dr. S, because you're showing me that I need to be really organized and I need to figure out which information in my articles actually talks about that claim. One of the strategies that I use, Dr. S, is to ask questions. So if I want to make a particular claim, for example, that budgeting helps people manage their spending, I think to myself, what questions do I need to answer to make that claim true? What do you think about the questions, how does budgeting help people manage their spending? Would that help me out?
Oh, absolutely.
I'm reading my articles. I'm looking for answers to the question of how does budgeting help me manage or help people manage? Is that right?
That's right.
Can we take a look at one of the articles? I think that would make things a lot clearer.
Well, yeah, absolutely. So if you remember back in 1.3, we chose our topic and it gave us our articles.
That was so helpful.
Here's are the ones from Budgeting for Success. And look at this, the best way to stick to a budget. We're trying to figure out how does budgeting help people manage their spending. So probably sticking to a budget would work what might be a really good article to read about that. What do you think?
Absolutely. It sounds like it's about practical advice. Let's take a look.
Okay. So I just want to note that when you click on the article here, it's still in the web text. But if you go up to your browser, I'm in Safari, and you click on Export as PDF, it will download to somewhere on your desktop. And then it becomes a document that you can actually work on and highlight. So
wow.
Here it is. And you'll notice here that, look, Professor Lauren, I've got a highlighter. And look, my colors. So I want yellow, right? Because we're working on managing, which is claim 1, right? We're working on that one right now.
I know that anything that's highlighted in yellow has to do with my first claim. I just print it out and use highlighters, so absolutely. I can use a yellow.
Let's kind of look and see. Okay. All right, so let's see here. Boot camp, daily ritual. Should people make an ongoing habit of tracking everything they spend? Look, they're kind of using they're starting out with questions just like we did.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
Getting easier to track what you spend through any number of free online tools.
But that says track, not manage. Is it still okay?
Well, yeah, it's tracking means taking stock of, looking, compiling, which is managing. When you're tracking something, you're managing it.
So I guess I really just need to think about what those sentences mean, and I shouldn't expect to find the answer written right there, huh?
Well, it seems like this is something that we might be able to use. What do you? Oh, look at this, Professor Lauren. Recording every expenditure you make, the advocacy forces you to be aware of where your money goes.
So interesting, Professor S, Dr. S. Even though I don't see the words budgeting, isn't that what you do when you budget? You're recording every expense that you make. So, isn't that really an answer to the question of what budgeting does? Because it says if you record everything you make, you become aware of where your money goes. So that seems to me like a good answer to the question of how does budgeting help you manage your spending? What about this stuff up above it, right? They may have a general sense of how much their regular expenses cost. They don't break those expenses down. So wait a minute, is that implying that maybe when we budget, it helps because we can get a sense of how to break it down? Is that another maybe answer to the question?
I think so. This whole part here is really helpful.
So I mean, I guess what I'm kind of doing, Dr. S, is I'm reading, for what it says, but I'm reading and asking myself every time, is there any way in which this information can answer my question? How does it help people manage spending?
Have your claim, which is managing spending, and you have some opinions now from financial people who actually are in this field who can back up your claim, which is what you need to do in this kind of a paper. So if you have your question and your claim in your mind as you're reading, see how easy it is? Because now we know we got our yellow and yellow. So now what we could even, if you look at this, the next one, which is build savings for their future, there might even be something in here on that as well in this very article. Let's go on a little bit. Tracking everything also helps with long-term planning.
Holy Toledo.
There you go. So that has to do with the second claim, which is building savings for your future. So you can even get so that you can keep one claim or even two in your mind with the question, and as you go along, kind of ask, would any of this work for one claim or the other?
How you read it and interpret it, huh?
It's completely about that. So but I guess what we can do now, Professor Lauren, is now that I see your strategy here, I take my claim, I ask my questions, and then I read and constantly try to ask myself, now, does this answer my question? Is how does budgeting help people manage their spending? I'm reading for that, looking for it. And once I get a few things highlighted that I think I could use to support it, then I can even go back to my little chart and start filling in with my paragraphs, with my topic sentence and my ideas, and add in some of the expert ideas.
About the questions that we asked Dr. S, right? That's how we figure everything out.
It is. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.